And we'll just go ahead and get started. So yeah, welcome everybody to the Midewin Photography Challenge for Veterans. It's so nice and great to see everybody today. So my name is Jessica Klinga. I'm the Veteran Program Specialist for Brushwood Center, and I'm also an Army reservist myself. Brushwood Center is at Ryerson Woods in Riverwoods, Illinois, and our mission is to promote nature for nurturing well-being and creativity through art. So we have general programming, but we also have specific programming for children, seniors, and veterans. I manage the program coordination for our Addie's Veteran Program, which connects veterans to nature through art, including photography, music, poetry, and painting. We will be doing more nature-based art workshops in the future, so more workshop and events like this in the future, and we really hope that all of you can join us for additional workshops like this as time goes on. So I'll introduce you now to your instructor today, Veronica Hinke. She's the Public Affairs Officer for Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie, which is part of the National Forest Service, which we all hope you go visit after this class. She will be speaking more about Midewin itself and Midewin Photography Challenge. And then after Veronica, Michael Cardis, who is your photography instructor for today, will be speaking, and then Ron Coppola. I'm pronouncing it right, Ron. Sorry about that. Who will be showing you, he's taken some really beautiful photos of Midewin, and he's gonna share that with you. And then I'll be wrapping up talking about how you can receive a free gift bag, a professional camera, and some other logistical details. So if you have any questions at any time, please let us know. We really want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you just want to put it in the chat, and I'll let whoever's speaking know that you have a question. So definitely let us know if you have a question. So with that, go ahead, Veronica.
All right. Well, I'm going to start. We have a special birthday this week. Michael's birthday was on Tuesday, and we saw him out at Midewin, and he was taking pictures as part of the video project. We were working on a video on Tuesday, and I didn't have a cake for him then, so I do now. We're going to sing happy birthday real quick to Michael. Okay, it won't take but a minute, and we'll
short version.
Okay.
Like lighting the candle of Smokey the Bear right behind you.
Right, right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. See if it started here. It's supposed to spin around here.
Don't burn the place down.
I know. Well, you know what? I've been doing these for years, and they usually go off without they go perfect. All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Michael. Happy birthday to you.
Let me blow them out.
Yes, virtual candle blowout. All right, got them for you, Michael.
That's a lot less calories than the cannoli cake my friend baked.
Yes, you got a cannoli cake too.
A lot less COVID calories.
Okay, thanks for taking a minute there to acknowledge Michael's birthday. It was a special week for him, and he's been a huge part of this program. This came about several months ago. I visited Brushwood Center in December, and I just was so inspired by the Addie's program. There was a special concert right during the holidays that was just amazing, and here we are now many months later actually seeing this come together, and it's been amazing getting to know some of the U.S. military veterans that are involved in the project. And of course, working with our partners at Brushwood Center at Ryerson Woods. I'm going to go really quickly through some slides that I put together here today. I'm going to share my screen to give an overview of Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie. Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie is 18,500 acres, and 30 miles of that is open to the public for trails on which you can bike. Some of them you can bike and walk on, and some you can ride horseback. Midewin is 63 of Chicago's Grant Park and 23 sizes of New York Central Park. It's located about 55 miles southwest of Chicago. The name is from the name of the Potawatomi Medicine Society that deals with healing and balance, and it is pronounced Midewin. Midewin was established 25 years ago next February. We're celebrating our silver anniversary. When the Illinois Land Conservation Act was signed, the legislation identified 4 purposes for the use of the land, to include, very roughly, I'll give you the 4 purposes: restoration, recreation, agriculture, and conservation education. This was the land where the former Joliet Arsenal operated during World War II, the Korean War. There was activity there during the Vietnam War. So it's really special to us that At Ease is being involved now in a military veterans outreach program, as it should be. Midewin is a place where you can go and connect with nature, and we're happy to see that happening. Back in 1996, when Midewin was established, there were over 400 bunkers where TNT was stored. There were miles of railroad tracks and other buildings and infrastructure. And Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie is a place where the USDA Forest Service is restoring that land by removing those items and putting in natural habitat that was historically there, which was prairie, tallgrass prairie. There's a herd of bison that you might see when you go out. They tend to graze in an area not too far from the Iron Bridge Trailhead, and that's why we included the GPS locations for that site. One of the many reasons, it's a great site, and one of the reasons it's a great site is it's a nice place to start if you want to head out and look for the Midewin bison herd. You're going to hear from Ron in a few minutes, and Ron is one of the rangers who takes people out to look for the bison from the ranger trailer at the Iron Bridge Trailhead. So he's someone who can talk more about that. The herd was introduced in 2015. There were 27 bison introduced in October and November, and now there are 123 bison. There's a bison cam that you can see on the website. Volunteers, partners, and staff are working with over 275 different species of native Illinois prairie plants. Our volunteer activities are really amazing. It's every Thursday, typically every week, and other special days. We work to manage the volunteer program with the Nature Conservancy in Illinois in a special partnership agreement. There are 3 restoration sites where there's been active restoration over the years. On the west side of Highway 53, which by the way is Route 66, there is South Patrol Road Prairie and the Prairie Glacial Plains, which is currently under active restoration. On the east side is the Iron Bridge Prairie that I mentioned earlier. There are 3 seed production gardens. We call them seed beds. One of my favorites is the River Road seed bed because it's so extensive. It's at River Road and Boathouse Road on the west side of Highway 53. I really love it in the season that we're coming into now because it's where you can see some fantastic golds from different varieties of goldenrod species and also from the purples of the asters. They're just wonderfully complementary colors, and it's great to see those this time of year that we're coming into in a couple weeks here. And right now it's bursting with color from Prairie Blazing Star. There's wonderful Royal Catchfly. Michael Cardis took a great picture of that earlier this week. At the Welcome Center, which is currently closed, we're experiencing virtual operations to help try to reduce the risk of COVID-19. There's also a small seedbed, and there's a small seedbed at Turtle Pond, which is on the east side of Highway 53. It's about a 2-mile walk in, but it's actually really worth it because it's such a lovely spot. Restoration happens year-round. You're looking at a bucket of chaff. No seeds are wasted. Even in the winter months, there's winter seed broadcasting that takes place. The chaff is returned to the land during special winter seed broadcasts so that the seed that is pulled away from it during seed cleaning, like you see Sally Wakela doing here with a manual seed cleaner, when they're separated, the chaff is put back into the land so that any seed that wasn't pulled out from the chaff is returned to the land. Not a seed is wasted. We also use automated machinery, like you see here. Here's an example of how seeds are sorted into bags. Another picture of that chaff. Here's a picture of a volunteer, and his name escapes me at the moment. I wish I could tell you who that was. Who's that? Did Ron say? He's conducting the winter seed broadcasting, putting that chaff back onto the prairie. And all winter long, there's brush clearing and so forth. Here's a nice snapshot of all the different species and the miles of trails. We'll be sharing these slides so you can get a better look at this. We're celebrating a leap year this year, so a special focus on frogs and toads. There are 7 different frogs and toads that have been spotted over the recent years at Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie. They're listed here. Part of the restoration is removing old clay drainage tiles that were utilized during the time when the land was farmed. With every clay drainage tile that's removed, and by the way, those are nice photo ops if you can find one, if you stumble across one. Those are just really, they tell a story. With which every mile, more habitat for frogs and other wetlands species is created. In 2019, over 2 miles of clay drainage tiles were removed, and many more tiles will be removed. In recent years, the rusty patch bumblebee has been seen there. At the Iron Bridge Trailhead, this is a picture of Derek Rosenberger with the Olivet Nazarene University. We have a partnership agreement with that university to monitor the rusty patch bumblebee. Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie is host site to the only interagency hotshot crew in the eastern region of the USDA Forest Service. That team and also the fire team that is based out of Midewin here in Wilmington, Illinois, very often works on prescribed fire as a restoration tool. Thousands of acres are burned as a means of helping to reduce hazardous fuels. RX burning minimizes the spread of plant and animal disease and removes invasive species while improving habitat for native species. Prescribed burning recycles nutrients and provides forage. Another program that I really wanted to highlight for all of you, because you might see a big boat out on the tall grass, is our partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Staff with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are actually co-located right with us out of our offices in Wilmington, because we're working with them in the fight against Asian carp in the Great Lakes. If you come out to Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie, and we sure hope you do, to get those wonderful pictures, we have great plans to work with. Please consider what you can do your part in recreating responsibly. Do your part, recreate responsibly. We've been hearing about that so much this year. Last year was Smokey Bear's 75th birthday, and if any year was Woodsy Owl's birthday, it would be this year. It would be this year because of caring for the land and each other. Avoid visiting the prairie if you're sick or experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. Make arrangements to use the restroom before or after your visit to the Aponzi Trailhead, where restrooms might be closed. The last I checked, they were open, but that has changed in recent weeks from time to time, so something to check there. Other restrooms are open. And if an area is crowded, please search for a less occupied location. And consider, along that same note, using the prairie or visiting the prairie during high use periods, and maybe going when it's not as crowded, early mornings and so forth. And then also, it's good to keep in mind those risky activities. This isn't the best time to try those, because law enforcement and or search and rescue operations might be limited. due to COVID-19. Pack it in, pack it out. There's our buddy Woods the Owl. He's got a birthday coming up September 15th. And, you know, his motto is lend a hand, care for the land. Here's a few notes about online resources, ways you can connect with us. We have an on-sale app. That's really nice. You can, in a click on your smartphone, you can access self-guided tours. There are trail maps that you can get off your smartphone in English and Spanish. Fact sheets. There's a Prairie Farmstead self-guided tour of some of the remains of old farmsteads near the Iron Bridge Trailhead. And then we also have at-home resources for learning about conservation and natural resources. And I want to make a special note about that bottom point, the Prairie Plant of the Month calendar. Coming up in 2020, that'll change. That'll be an at-ease calendar with your photographs. So we're really excited about that. And here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. My name again is Veronica Hinke, and I'm really glad to be here. I'm so excited to get to know all of you better, and welcome.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Veronica. And just so everyone knows, everybody will be getting a copy of that slideshow. All the participants will be getting that, as well as the links to the smartphone app that Veronica was speaking about, and the trail map as well. So, all right, go ahead, Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
All right, that's the first start on this thing. So I'm Michael Cardis of Cardis Photography, and I just want to welcome everyone to the Healing Through Photography courses that we've been doing, that I've been with for a few years now, and would first, most importantly, thank everybody for their service. Because, you know, when I joined the military, I didn't join to be of service to anyone. I joined because I was in not the best group of crowd in California, and you learn to become of service later. That's what kind of life is all about when you get down to it. But, you know, so I was in the Air Force, and, you know, it was a good time for what it was. And it allowed me to, yeah, I got when you join, you don't think about healthcare and stuff like this. I used the VA for that and all that, and that's God taking care of me, because I never would have taken care of myself that way. And so anyways, this class hopefully will help you learn the basics of photography. And there's a lot to know. So to pretend that you're going to learn everything in a half-hour course is, well, crazy, okay? But and here's the thing. You know, it's amazing. It's amazingly easy to take a picture nowadays, and I call them snapshots. Most people take snapshots of life, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, snapshots are important. You know, you're at your family birthday, whatever, blah, and all that kind of stuff. But to make a photograph, that is a completely different story. You know, and to me, the first thing we need to know about photography, like my Dr. King, when I have 2 degrees in art, and when Dr. King and I brought him a photograph that I was proud of because of this really cute model and all this other kind of stuff, and the Rembrandt lighting that we were using and all that, the subject is nothing, and light is everything, and it makes the subjects, you know, the harsh light, soft light, light from a diagonal, blah, blah, blah. It creates the image you want to see, you know, and which is one of the things that you know, a lot of photographers, we call it the golden hour, the hour or two in sunrise, an hour or two before dusk, which gives it a different glow, a warm, usually warm glow. It's more soft diffused light, as opposed to your light that's just harsh coming down upon you and all that stuff. And so let me get into something that I wrote all this stuff down in like basically yesterday, so we'll see how this works out. And I think it's pretty good. I'm kind of actually proud of my writing capability sometimes. And photography means writing with light, photography. If you don't know light, well, it's the most important thing. A great photograph should have good light, subject, and composition, the 3 elements that matter the most in photography. The photographer should have a strong vision that then express it in an effective way. And that's what I'm hoping that this quick course will help you with. You know, and I'm going to explain the functions of your camera. And remember, a camera is basically a black box that captures light. I don't care if it's your smartphone or if it's an 8x10 view camera or our DSLRs. It's basically a black box that captures light, and your lens will diffract the light and whatever, and bring it into the sensor or film, depending on what you're doing, and blah, blah, blah. But it's all it is, you know, and it's a tool, you know, if you don't, you know, it's a tool that you need to learn how to use. It just doesn't like happen, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of people now, because they're smartphones, they just like, and they don't know what the hell they did, you know, and that's, you know, sad. It's good because you get something really quick, but it's kind of sad. I mean, you know, it's kind of like going to McDonald's for a hamburger or going over to Gibson's for a steak. There's a big difference when your tongue starts smacking around up there, you know. So let me briefly explain the functions of the camera, you know, and once again, I can't emphasize, it's about your vision. You know, the whole idea of a photograph is allowing somebody to see what you want them to see, you know. So, you know, and I love this, you know, the idea behind a photo, if the idea behind a photo is weak, using the right camera settings won't make it better. And Ansel Adams, to quote him, there's nothing worse than a sharp image of a fuzzy concept. So you can know all the technology in the world, but if you don't have a vision, you know, what's it going to do you? Okay, so that to me is very important. And here's a camera that I use. And once again, brands, all that stuff don't mean anything. Okay, and so you know, it's like it's what, you know, feels good to you. You know, the best camera you have is the one that you're carrying with it. I'm looking at my deck right now, and I got these flowers out there, and I have 3 butterflies flopping around. So it's kind of cool. So first thing you got to do is usually turn it on. Okay, but the thing is, if you look, you'll have a, you know, menu settings and stuff and blah blah blah. I use, you know, I put my camera on RAW, and I have another card that has JPEG. And I 99% of the time always shoot in manual because I want complete control of the photo. If the photo looks like crap, I want to know what I want to do. And more importantly, if it looks good, I want to know how to duplicate it again. And if the camera's doing everything for you, you don't know how to do that. And then you'll also learn, as your vision gets better, how to you know, change those, you know, like, oh, the sky's too bright. Well, maybe I want to expose for the sky, or I need that. But that all comes from focusing and doing it over and over and over and over. So with the camera, basically, you know, you have your 3 most important parts of the camera function, you know, is your shutter speed and your aperture and your ISO, which is the sensitivity of the film, and or nowadays the sensor. Okay, and each one of them changes your vision once again. So if you don't know those, you know, techniques, you can't really, you know, grab what you need. Okay, so, you know, on all cameras, like you can see right now, it's on manual, you know, and if I don't use manual, I'll normally use aperture, because it's, you know, the depth of field and what you want is the most important thing. And then and there's way too many things to know. Like, I'll change this thing around, which changes your, you know, how much light enters in, plus minus what, because I know, okay, I'm shooting your Veronica's face right now, and the background is a lot brighter. Well, I know it's going to be brighter. If I'm using aperture, I'm going to change this thing to adjust the light for her. I mean, but that's years of experience. That's not something you just pick up and start doing right away. Okay, and you know, so all cameras are basically the same. This is a heavy camera, okay? If you don't want to carry a heavy camera, you don't carry, and basically a professional camera, there's nothing great about it. The main reason why it's professional, it's built for punishment. Most of us, when we're professionals, we don't even have the lens cap on the camera and stuff. We're banging into things and stuff. It needs to have punishment, you know, and granted, if you're spending a few grand on a camera, it better do certain things for you at the same time. But like I say, And then I'll put it on shutter once in a while. If I'm, like if you're shooting a bird, you want a fast shutter speed, unless you're purposely going for a motion blur or something like that. So then you might put it on shutter thing. I am not a fan of automatic on anything. If you want to learn, but once you start learning this stuff, then you can, do these, different deals, and, so basically the shutter speed, and I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to show a lot of examples of blur, of stopping, and some pictures from the other day. It was my birthday, so I was a little surprised that, I made a commitment to Catherine. I'm going, because they kind of put this up to come the day before. She goes, oh, can you make it to this thing? And I go, wow, it is my birthday. And it's an hour-and-a-half drive, and you know what? And usually when you put yourself out a little bit, even though you don't want to do something, if you just say, if you make a commitment to somebody, it always turns out good. You always meet somebody interesting. You see something different you would never experience before. And that to me is what photography does. It allows me to experience life in a different way. When I sit and I wait for a photograph and I wait for the sun to get behind the cloud or the opposite way, come out of the cloud, and you have a pier going there and you're waiting for the kayaker to come in, and then maybe the sun is right behind and you wait, and then you pop that, and it's like, that's to me God stuff. That's all that stuff comes together. You're part of a moment in life, and you stop that. Not where you're just walking with your friend, oh look, and you just keep walking. That's a snapshot in life rather than being present in life, and I really do believe that stuff. Now, but shutters basically, the faster the shutter speed, 1/250th, 1/500th, 1/1000th, the more you're going to stop an image. The opposite, 1/8 of a second, 1/4 of a second, seconds, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be more blur, more, it's mainly for motion blur, but it's also when you have it on a tripod. And basically, if you're under a 1/15th of a second, although I'm pretty good at hand holding stuff at 1/4 of a second, but I'm kind of trained on that kind of a thing. But it's better to use it's pretty amazing what cameras can do right now. Because back when I learned, you just had there's no way, you had a zoom lens or a 180 millimeter lens, you had to shoot that thing at basically the same shutter speed as the lens, because it would shake. Cameras now with optical, stabilization and stuff are pretty phenomenal in what you can do and how you can get lazy and not carry a tripod, and then go, man, a friend of mine was going to Cuba to do a shoot, and then he goes, oh, I don't think I'm gonna bring a tripod. I go, dude, you're a professional. How can you not bring a tripod to frickin' Cuba, for crying out loud, and that's just being a lazy photographer, so, so that's the main thing. But every time, like if you're at 1/25th and you make it 1/250th, well, you just made half the amount of light come into your camera box, that black box, and you go 1/25th to 1/60th, you just increased it by double. So every time you change that, you're getting less light. So then you're gonna have to change your aperture. Okay, and the aperture is like your pupils of your lens. When you go in bright light, it shrinks up, becomes real small. And when you go in the dark light, it gets, larger. Same concept. It's what it is. It's a lens. When you're at f2.8, it's a lot bigger. You're letting more light in. If you're at f16, super small, and you're letting less light in. The benefits of both, f16, like if you're shooting landscapes and stuff, you probably want the flower in front in focus and the mountains in the background in focus. Well, that's where f16 comes in. A lot of lenses have f22, but then you start at the lens is usually a little more inferior then, so you usually want to avoid that. But f16, f11, you want to go that route. Now, let's say you want to isolate that flower, then you might want to go 2.8, okay? And then remember, when you're going to 2.8 from f16, your shutter speed's got to change accordingly. So that pops, but that flower all of a sudden becomes the main focus and everything else goes blurred. Or the same thing with the a human subject. You know, if you want to isolate that person, well, you got to use a wide aperture, 2.8, 1 point. There's a lot of portrait photographers, they'll spend a couple grand on a lens, an 85 millimeter size lens that has a 1.2 or 1.4 for, you know, and spend a couple grand just to take portraits and do nothing else, you know, which is, you know, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy, but it's their vision. So that's just how it is, you know. And then you got ISO, you know, and the ISO, like I said, you know, is, well, it used to be the ASA. Well, it doesn't really matter because that's just such a long time ago. But the ISO basically changes the speed of the sensor, you know. So, and you want to kind of use that as a last resort. I will pump up. I shoot a lot of events. I'm not a wedding photographer kind of event person. I'll do, you know, like I get to meet some real high-end people. Like I'll get hired to be with the Prime Minister of Ireland or whatever. And I'm there, and you're in an event, and you're all this stuff. I'll have it at 4,000 ISO, you know. But I'm fixing that noise and the grain and stuff in post production, knowing that ahead of time that I can do that. But then I'm able to get, you know, the balance of light with everything else, and you know, that's all stuff, you know, and that's important. Back in the day, I remember shooting a thing for the Limelight for a magazine cover, and they wouldn't accept anything over 400 ISO, and that's in darkness. So that just shows the latitude and the quality and how things have changed, you know. And I'm going to show you some pictures. So ISO you use at the last moment, but you know, you want to kind of have it at 100, you know, and there's, you know, but it doesn't always happen. If it's getting a little darker, I'll immediately put it at 400. You know, if I'm shooting birds, I might put it at 800, but I know I can fix that noise later, and I will spend a lot of editing is so important. It's just super important. I'm going to show a few photos. In theory, post-disabled screen shader.
Oh, let me see. Can you screen share now, Michael?
Let's see. Yes, ma'am. So let me go into a few photos. Now this is my, well, here's an example of composition and stuff too. And I look at photography, like if you really want to learn photography, you carry your camera with you, you know, and it's kind of like, this is my Uncle Stash a year before he got bad cancer and made his transition. And one of the more important people in my youth, obviously an artist, but it's kind of like, you know, if you see an image and you don't have your camera, it's kind of like sitting in front of a canvas and you don't have a paintbrush. It's not, you're going to be frustrated. You know what I mean? So, and I'll carry there's times I carry a camera and I'll take one photo the whole day, you know, and that's, you know, and that's fine. You know, that's just, you know, what are you going to do? It's just fine for what it is. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of last Tuesday. Okay, that's one of my favorite bosses in the world right there. Okay, and this is going to show some composition and stuff too at the same time. I just wanted to show some of the pictures from, because I was only basically shooting for maybe an hour, hour and a half because of whatever. But that's Catherine game, and as you can tell by the photos, she does have game. So here's and here's like a thing too. This will be part of the composition. If you notice, I have the flowers. There's leading lines going into the photo, you know, and I find that stuff important. Those are, well, purple thistle flowers. I have no idea what any of these are, if you can ask Valerie. Here is a woman that underneath there is a humongous smile. And once again, this is a rule of thirds. And you know, and I hate rules. Well, in order to break rules, you got to know what they are. So the rules are important. Rule of thirds again, but you know, I'm looking at the whole picture when I'm doing something. I don't have her over a little bit and the camera's sticking him in the butt or whatever. I'm purposely, okay, the background is important too. Not as important as her eyes looking at us right now, drawing our attention, but important as it is. Now, if I really cared, maybe I would have had her move the water bottle, but these were all about how it was going on that day, not just my creation. And when I do jobs, you know, I used to bring, hell, in the film days, I would have a camera loaded with black and white. I'd have a camera loaded with color film. You had to do it. And then I would have wide angle and with one camera, this and that. Now, you know, I like, to me, the less weight I have, the more vision I have. But I still have to get that stuff. I'll have a lens off to the side. If I'm on a job, I always have a backup camera because you never know when it's going to break. Whenever you're doing anything, not only do you need your camera, you need to bring extra batteries because they will die when you don't want them to. It always will. It's just the way it is. So that's important stuff. So here's that wonderful Valerie, and here they are, and there's my boss in the background getting ready to point her finger at me like, oh, now get going, okay? And then here's another thing, always be prepared. I was a Boy Scout.
Oh, sorry.
Be prepared. We were talking, I saw the girl with her bike off the side. I knew there was going to be a photo once she started going again, you know, so that's just part of the thing. It adds to the composition. You have the leading lines going in there, and then you also know there's nature involved. It's not cropped too much, but it's cropped. I mean, and then that would be a butterfly, and this is what I do too. When you see something, take a picture and then move forward, because that may not be there in a second, you know. So I moved forward, I saw it from a distance, you know, and this and that, and like I said, I was only there about an hour and a half total. So and then there you go here, and then there's that butterfly, okay, and it's nice, and you change your positioning and stuff like that. Nothing fancy, you know, but if you notice, the butterfly is, the darkness is behind the butterfly. There's that background stuff again I'm talking about. It makes the butterfly pop a little bit more than if I went the other way a little bit, and it would be brighter over there. Those are things that, well, put it this way, you know, I have 2 degrees, like I said, and been doing this over 40 years, and I'm kind of starting to get the hang of this stuff. So it takes a little while. And then those are, there we go again. And these are just a few of the photos from that day. Just a couple. There's a couple more little butterflies. I also like kind of the composition, but that's neither here nor there at the moment because we're not on that. Same flowers. I like going up, down, low. I think it's important not to take 1,000 pictures, but to see your pictures in the viewfinder and then get down low rather than having 1,000 pictures to edit later. I'm not a huge fan. I don't like spending hours on the computer. I'd rather be hours on the field, but you need to do that. A couple of bees that she mentioned what those flowers are. I have no idea. Like, I had a really beautiful garden in my home on Logan Boulevard, and people would ask me, oh, what kind of flowers are those? Well, those are red, those are yellow, this is that, you know, because I'm all about color and shapes. And here we go again.
Compass plants.
Thank you. Those are purple flowers, like she said. And there, oh my God, a celebrity being interviewed right there. And there's that smile I was talking about. Oh, and then these are a couple panoramas of that. And when I do a panorama, I usually do 8 to 10 photos, and they get stitched together. So, and that's that. Oh, now this, okay, well, here we go. This is Route 66. If it wasn't for the fact that we went out there, I originally this year was going to do a 66 on 66 book, basically, taking 3 to 4 weeks driving from Chicago to Santa Monica on Route 66 and photographing, interviewing, you know, proprietors, blah, 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 and all these kind of stuff. And if it wasn't for the fact that my lovely boss was almost running out of gas, we never would have came to this little spot where this Gemini giant was, which would have been the second stop on my journey, because the first would have been the Pancake House in Chicago. So that was like, for my birthday, oh, what else do you need? You know, Veronica smile and that, what else do you need? Oh, and I'm going to show you something real quick. This photo is from college. And a lot of people, and I've sold this, this is at least, this was shot on a tripod. This was shot with, I had a medium format Kodachrome film, which was probably a 64 ISO film, and this and that hangs in a few different places. But a lot of people, whenever I go to the Art Institute, I will come here and see this guy's work, and there I am. I became a pothead in Apalachicola, a friend of mine's coffee house, and they bring up this amazing photo, and trust me, that's one of my favorite art paintings. And when people see that and they say that, nothing makes me happier than somebody you know, saying that, because to me it's just like, what a compliment. All right, so, and real quick now, it's a lot to bring in to a degree, but nothing compared to because, you know, the technical part is important. It's kind of like you're not going to build a house unless you have the right tools, and you probably should know a little bit about plumbing and electric and a few things like this and how to build a foundation, or you're going to be screwed. Okay, so you know, that's important. But the you know, to me, okay, here, you know, composition, you know, let me read from my little deal. Composition is critical. If you want to take powerful photos, it is one of the most important parts of photography. And trust me, knowing the ISO, knowing shutter speed, knowing your light, knowing the aperture, that's all part of composition. Composition is the structure of the photograph. It's how you arrange the elements in your image to create the look you want, and it can make or break an image. Now, when I'm on a job for somebody else, I find out what their vision is, and I might add my vision, but you know, they want, you know, you have to go, what are the client's needs, not my needs, because they may be completely different, right? So, you know, and you have an absurd, like I was just saying, an absurd amount of power to change the composition photo. Move forward, move backwards, left, right. Change your lens, you know, zoom in, zoom out. Pay attention to which elements of the scene you're including, as well as the ones you're not. Done right, composition takes your subject and presents it to your viewers as effectively as possible. It is the mechanism for conveying a message of your photos, you know. And there's a bunch of rules of composition. One of the ones that beginners always are told, and it's a pretty much a true rule, is the rule of thirds. And I'm going to mention a couple of these real quick. And it's basically, if you go on almost any camera, they'll have a grid. They'll say, do you want the grid view? I always have the grid view on there, not just for the rule of thirds, because it's kind of second nature with me, because to have the horizontal, the level, you know, if I don't have the level on, which I normally do too, you know, so your horizons are level. Nothing worse than seeing someone shows me a sunset picture and the horizon is in a diagonal. It's like, I don't know what planet that is, but I don't live there. You know, it's like, fix the horizon. That's the least you can do for your viewers, you know. And as you can tell, it's kind of a pet peeve. So the rule of thirds, okay, and basically, the rule of thirds is 9 sections. You want to try to put your subject in one of those sections, you know, where it pops out. And I'll show you that. That's a pretty easy one, and that's one that I use quite often. My main one, I love using diagonals, you know, like whether it's a fence leading into a thing, or you're on a pier, or you got paths or whatever that brings you into the photo. And I'll show you a few of those in a second too. And then, you know, and here's the other rule, symmetry. Perfect amount of space on either side. It's, you know, being symmetrical, you know. So in other words, your photo is centered, and this and that. Can be kind of boring. You got to really know how to do that one. You know, the leading lines I already mentioned. Simplicity. Every photo you take has an emotional message. The core reason why you chose to take a photo in the first place, except maybe, you know, a birthday. Even when I shoot family photos, you know, I act like I'm hired to be there. You know, I'm not going to have a power line coming out of someone's head. I just find that being lazy. When all I have to move is move a little bit over, and that power line is gone. You know, so simplicity is making, you know, showing your, getting all the distracting things out of the photo. I mean, there's no need for that. You know, every photo you take has an emotional message, the core reason. Okay, simplicity means that nothing in your photo takes away from the emotional message. In other words, get rid of the power lines, blah blah blah. And breathing space. You need space between things. Otherwise, it's you know, what are you going to, positive and negative spaces? That's kind of, you know, basically positive space is anything in your photo that stands out and attracts attention. Negative space is pretty much the opposite, okay? And then to me, the big deal, is intent. The big secret of composition is not that you should follow one structure or template for a majority of your photos, which is the rule of thirds and stuff like this. Instead, the important thing is to pick your composition intentionally before you're taking the photograph. You know, intent is the most important part of the composition. Nothing in the photograph should happen by accident. Everything must have a reason to exist. If you remember that and you really spend time in the field making it happen, your photos will skyrocket in quality. And I truly believe that. It's you know, you can go on YouTube and you can read all the books, and I have a lot of books, and I do recommend going into bookstores and looking at other people's photos. Why is that photo so much better than this photo? Why, you know, is Ernest Haas considered one of the best photographers ever for using color and this and that, and you know, and you learn that, you know, from the masters. You're not going to learn that from well, somebody else that's trying to, you know, figure it out too. It's like anything else.
Mind, do we stop there to take some questions?
Well, let me show a few photos real quick then. Is that okay?
Yeah, if you can wrap it up, because we just have
Right.
like a.
Okay, I'm gonna show a few photos. Are you guys there? Let me first of all, this I just shot in St. George Island. This is with my smartphone. So you don't need a you know, big DSLR to get a great photo, but you do have to have the vision. I waited there and waited there and waited for the wave to come and come in there and envelop the and it's kind of hard to find shells that are still connected to begin with. Okay, rule of thirds, leading lines.
When you speak of the rule of thirds, is it like you have to put?
Rule of thirds. Here. If you're can you see me? If you're looking right here, you got, it's a grid. Like I mentioned on the thing, there's a grid, you have 9 spaces. Rule of thirds, you want to make sure that something is in those areas. And that's it's just something you do.
There's a grid line of like 9 different sections. I think I've seen it.
Like this is just, you know, this is the symmetrical one. This is in Greece. These are some shots in Greece. This was shot with one of the first DSLRs, the D1X. This camera cost over $5,000 and had a 5 megapixel sensor on there, and wasn't even a CMOS sensor, it was a CCD sensor, which shows you what has changed in 12, 15 years. $5,000 for a 5 megapixel camera that didn't even shoot video or anything else. You know, when I'm talking about how easy it is to take a picture right now, it's amazing. But to make a photograph, it's always been, this is rule of thirds. You can kind of see he's in the thirds kind of a deal, where you put the subject. This is where Alexander the Great got his forces together. This to me was an emotional photo for me. I literally sat there in the opium poppy things over here, blah, 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 with the path going there, just going, wow, Alexander the Great was right here. That to me was, if that conveys anything to you, probably not, but I think the photo holds up on its own. This little lady I met, okay, hang on. I was shooting, it doesn't really matter, different priests and stuff like that. Here's another easy rule of thirds. I mean, these are like, they almost blatantly, this is a self-portrait, okay? This is at the lake by my house, but here we go, rule of thirds again, okay? Different elements and thirds. That's basic starting kind of photography. Okay, that's just the thing. This is leading lines. This is could be rule of thirds. That's my dog friend. This is handheld at 1/10 of a second. I don't recommend that, but I did that with this. This is my friend surfing over here. This is my backyard, basically. I walk out 50 steps and go another 50 steps this way, and this is pose. When I'm doing this, I'm telling him, stay still, stay still, stay still. Otherwise, you're not going to get the blur. You're not going to get that excitement of the motion of the thing. That's in Mexico, just a cute little girl. These are patterns, okay? It's just a cool little pattern kind of thing. Okay, to get starbursts, you normally need a shallow, you need like an F, I believe that was shot at F16. Actually, here we go, F14, 1/30 of a second. Okay, this is shot fairly fast, 1250 a second. There's my dog. And even here, you can see leading lines, okay? And these are, you know, once again, that's Chicago. This is a combination of motion blur. This is shot on a tripod. Obviously, I would think, because you can see the blur. That's a 2-second exposure. But I also have a flash popping, so I called it spirits coming out of Guadalupe. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the people I got. You know, I'm kind of doing a bunch of stuff with that. Leading lines, motion blur. As you can see, a 4-second exposure. There's one, and then here's another. Just kind of a different view, but the same thing.
Michael, yeah, if we can, we have to get to Ron, so I'm so sorry.
Okay. And like I was telling you about this little flash light, waiting for the light and all that stuff. And that's all I got then. So, and once again, the art of photography being a visual art depends on the act of seeing being raised to the highest level of acuteness and discrimination. It just doesn't happen. You got to make it happen. All right, thanks.
All right, well, thank you so much. And our next speaker is Ron. So Ron, you can go ahead. Thank you so much, Michael.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay.
And if anybody has any questions, just let us know in the chat as well, okay?
Okay, we'll start here. I go out to Midewin maybe once, twice a week, sometimes every other week. But I go out there mainly for the walks, but I always carry my camera with me. I know a lot of you are going to be coming out to Midewin. I'll just point out several areas on this map. Can you see my pointer here?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. All the way to the east, there's the Wapansi Glacial Trail. That really starts in Joliet and ends at Custer Park over the Kankakee River. But it parallels Midewin here. Some of you with military backgrounds, if you walk south to the trail, then go in to this trail, and it's maybe about a little over 2 mile one way. You come up to the Bailey Bridge, which is constructed over Prairie Creek. That's a portable bridge that was used during the Second World War, and it was brought to Midewin, and using the actual instructions that came with the bridge was put together by volunteers. Okay, if you head west along Huff Road, there's another trailhead. This takes you maybe a mile south to Turtle Pond, which is a small man-made pond about 2 acres in size. Farming on both sides. Continuing on to Huff Road to Route 53, if you go straight, you'll go into Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, which, if you're in the area, it's worth a ride through there. Very peaceful. We turn south on 53, a little over a mile. You come to Iron Bridge Trailhead. Here, it's probably the most opportunity for a lot of things. You'll see in this little area here, it's a restored prairie. You walk to and around, it's about 1.5 miles both ways from the parking lot to overlooks scopes of the bison pasture. From each scope, you can see about 70% of the pasture. Opportunity to see bison. However, if you're going just to see bison, don't be disappointed if you don't see them, because it is a hilly area and they're not always visible. But as you go along this trail and turn east, this is the Group 63 bunker field. The second bunker is open for you to view. Going south, there's Explosive Road, which is the top of a glacial moraine, then drops down into a flat area. So you get a pretty wide vista views. Going a little farther south, you got the Welcome Center. We'll talk about that later. Then you go to River Road, go west about 2 miles to Boathouse Road and turn right. About a quarter mile off of River Road is our seed beds you were talking about. Always color, always insects, spiders, butterflies, whatever, even praying mantis if you're lucky. Go up into the parking lot another quarter mile. You can walk through, see the South Patrol Area Restoration Project, or walk through Prairie Creek Woods here. So those are just several opportunities you could see. This Explosive Road, I was going down Route 53 one night, I said, wow, look at this fire. But at the top of the glacial moraine, you could see miles away. This is probably 15, 20 miles away along Route 6, west of Shanahan, Illinois. This little dome here is, let's see, the nuclear power station at ComEd. I look back at some of the pictures you see in August around here. This is taken at Turtle Pond. It's a little area constructed by school kids. They come out and study 3-4 times a year. In the fall, they pick seeds. In the winter, they plant the seeds. And in the spring, they actually plant the plants into the little prairie. Along the River Road seed bed, you can see this prairie dock. This leaf is about, it's about 18 inches high and maybe about a foot wide. But the roots go so deep that in hot weather, you put your hands along both sides of that leaf and it's cool. And a lot of them say it's from the water coming from the deep 10, 12 feet down, the roots bringing it up to the surface. Also have the River Road seabed, like I said, besides color, you see wildlife. Here's a fertility butterfly. Obedient plant is in bloom this time. You can look up too. You see a lot of cloud formations overlooking the prairie. We come into autumn, any time of the year, you can see a lot of color. This is at just one of the parking lots. You park your car and the color's right there. Across from the Boathouse Road, West Patrol Road, you'll see fall colors. This is the Prairie Creek Woods Trail, and this is little blue stem grass. It's actually a part of our seed bed that they harvest mechanically each year. As you're walking along, you know, you can look up, look down. Here's a little group of bumblebees feeding, getting water off some animal scat. If you're going to see the bison, you know, you may spot some birds. Here we see a meadowlark, and behind the fence is the bison pasture. Walking toward the second bunker that you can walk into, this bobolink was right in front of it. So you never know what to expect, what you'll find. This was at the Prairie Creek Woods Buttonbush Pond overlook, a protonotary warbler. Spring is and fall is pretty good time to see migrations through Midewin. Midewin has on site about 100 species of birds and another 50, 60 pass through here through their migration. This is just a little bit, you passed it the other day. There's a little drainage ditch right before you get to the Boathouse Restoration area, the green heron. And one day pulling off of Route 53 onto Explosive Road, right in the first tree, somebody spotted me and I spotted it. I tried to slow the car down and, get out, but it flew away. It didn't like being watched. Like I said, you could see the bison from two areas. You could start at the Iron Bridge Trailhead, or also there's a new trail open that starts at the Welcome Center and goes north. You're not always guaranteed to see the bison. This was maybe about a month ago. Some are just as curious to see you as you are to see them. There's a male and a female. If you ever go out there, the male's adult horns aren't curved as much as the female's horns.
Ron, may I just say one thing? If anybody needs to leave right now because it's 12:30, all of the logistical email details will be emailed to you. So we're just going to stay on maybe 5 more minutes with Ron, and then I'm going to go over logistical details after that. But if anybody needs to leave, it will be emailed to you. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Okay. This was taken last February off the Iron Bridge Trailhead. If you're looking to see something that passed the arsenal, this is the second bunker that that you can walk into along the Group 63. It's maybe 4/10 of a mile from the Iron Bridge parking lot. The weakest part of this bunker is that door weighing over 1,000 pounds. You can go into it, and a day like today, it's probably 75 degrees in there. As you go in and look back out into the prairie, sometime toward the top here, you'll see swallows building nests in there. So any time of year is a good time to come out. You get different perspective of different things. This tree is along the exit of the Prairie Creek Woods Trailhead trail, just west of West Patrol Road, Boathouse Road. It's the oldest tree on Midewin. It's thought to be a bur oak. It's thought to be over 300 years old. Doesn't look like it here, but the circumference of that tree is about 19 feet, 19 feet, which is pretty large. The largest in Illinois is 21 feet around. You can come in the evening along that West Patrol Road there. You can see moonrise shots. Most of the moonrises are, I don't know, it just happens to get a north wind off the lake from Chicago, but the horizon has a lot of clouds, so you're not always going to see a good moonrise. Last full moon, I was at the restoration area. Happened to see the full moon, but at the same time, I tried to get down here, it's a sandhill crane that fell asleep. There were 2 of them actually there. Oh, the end of July, the comet was visible. Went out to see it for 2 nights. Never did see it, but did get a moon shot and a nice sunset shot. To get sunset shots, I'd like to go off of Explosive Road. There's one from the top of the hill before you go down. Going back for sunrises, I like the River Road, the north of River Road, that restoration area. This isn't a sunflower, it's a compass plant. If you go in the morning for sunrises, sometimes it's foggy. It kind of mutes the colors. And also you can get the sun as a different background.
Do you mind if I ask a quick question, Ron, about sunset?
Yeah.
I was actually at Midewin on Tuesday, and I actually had a problem taking photos at sunset, and I was just wondering if you had any tips to be able to take sunset photos, because all of my photos end up not coming out.
Okay, I really I just start with Aperture and work from there, and sometimes I have to vary the time as we go. I'm a lot automated. I'm not as probably as professional as Mike is, but I try. But the best places for sunsets, I try off of Explosive Road, because you have a wide vista there. And if it's have a lot of high cirrus clouds, you get a lot of color in it too.
Okay.
Here I tried to take the picture in, with some flowers in the foreground, yellow, gray-headed coneflowers. Early morning dews with the sunlight coming up enhances the spider webs, so it gives you some interesting shots too. Same with a foggy morning, the sun coming up. And when the sun coming up, you can really see how many spider webs are existing on a prairie. I know Veronica earlier mentioned the prairie schooner. This was taken right outside of the visitor center where they, Fish and Wildlife store their boat. Sometimes you take pictures looking down at the flowers and get a little extra treat of an insect. Sometimes I like to take a picture looking up at the flowers. These both pictures were taken at the River Road seedbed. For a lot of color and variety, that's a good place to go. This time of year, you'll see a lot of insects preparing for winter there. This is a black and yellow garden spider. If you're not interested in walking a lot, just stop at the visitor center. You get a lot of different opportunities to take photos. This is right across from the parking lot from the visitor center. Springtime shot, looking across Route 53. This is at Turtle Pond. There's again some wildlife. If you approach the overlook slowly, they won't move. Along the Group 63, I looked up and there's a coyote looking for something, stalking something. Some deer along Prairie Creek. And 2 years ago, the monarch migration came through here. Off the Iron Bridge trailhead, there's a little wooded area. The old farm site that Veronica was talking about was the home every evening of just thousands of monarchs as they stayed for the night. And that was started early September and lasted about 2.5 weeks. Something flew across me, looked up, and here's a barred owl. So you come out to Midewin, and might come in the winter, think you're alone, but you might be the first human there, but you could see who else was there too before you. Leaving River Road, or Iron Bridge Trailhead, here's a little winter shot. And a little added bonus, just west of about half a mile west of the River Road seedbeds, on the south side is the entrance to Lake Milliken. Here's the River Road Bridge. You pull in, there's a little S curve, and try to park along there. And it's a little rough walk, maybe 100 feet, to see these little waterfalls. It's Prairie Creek. It's about probably 300-400 feet before it flows into the Kankakee River. Different times of year, there's a lot of ice here. These waterfalls do freeze. Heavy rains, you wouldn't even know there's a waterfall. There's so much water coming through here. But interestingly enough, this is the limestone. It's a Niagara formation, and about maybe 500-600 miles northeast of here, this Niagara formation outcrops and actually forms Niagara Falls. So in the winter, you don't know who or what you may see. This is my little screen person. I looked up and, whoa, what is that? So any time of year, any time of day, come visit Midewin. We're open every day of the year from 4 in the morning till 10 at night. So that's about it, what I have to say.
All right, well, thank you so much, Ron. We'll pause here really quickly for questions. If anybody has any questions, let me know in the chat or just unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'll go straight into logistical information. Okay, so yeah, just definitely let us know in the chat if there's any questions. I'm just gonna go over logistical information really quickly. So all participants today, you're eligible. Does everybody see my screen share?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So everybody, all the participants, you will get this gift bag. So we really encourage you to go out to Midewin, including, as you can see, a trail map, which is the same trail map that Ron was just showing. In addition, you'll be getting wildlife information, including birds of Midewin and spiders of Midewin and wildflowers of Midewin. So really great information. And your itinerary that you will be sending out will have directions going to the River Road seabed and also the Iron Bridge trailhead. And we actually also will be including GPS location and a link to that GPS location so you can put it right into your phone. And we will also be having written out directions as well. So to point you in both directions. The itinerary that we'll be sending everybody also has a smartphone app that Veronica was talking about. And I really encourage everybody to download that because it specifically has a lot of great history information about the Iron Bridge Trail. In addition to that, if anybody like professional camera, let me know as well. Most of you all want, you have your own camera, but if you want a professional camera, we are loaning them out to veterans and their family members, so let me know that as well.
Yeah, I have my own, so.
Okay, yes, yeah, if you want one, I'll be sending up a follow-up email. So just let me know if you do want a camera and we'll work out the logistics. You can either pick one up at Brushwood or a different location, or for the gift bag, we might mail it to you. So before the camera and the gift bag, either pick it up at Brushwood or work out some other way for you to pick it up, or we'll drop it off to you. I know Veronica mentioned the photos that you'll be submitting. So the deadline to submit photos is September 18th. So the photos will be on a photo exhibition at the Lovell VA, in addition to the National Forest Service's special calendar. So we really encourage you to please send us your photos once you've gone to Midewin. So does anybody else have any additional questions?
There is a reporter with the Kankakee Daily Journal who would like to go out with one of the participating veterans. So if you're open to that, we can connect you with Tiffany. She or another reporter could go out with you and be part of a story that they're working on about this project. And we're really excited about the calendar that we mentioned. After seeing these amazing pictures by Michael and Ron today, I'm just thinking this is going to be such a fantastic calendar. So I just want to thank each of you for your service, first of all, and thank you so much for being part of this project in its first year. This is just off to a great start.
Okay, and that also, you can also be interviewed by our videographer, Brandon, as well, if you're interested in that. And we'll be putting all of these details as well as a summary of the information that you received today in an email. So definitely reach out to me if you have any additional questions. All right, so unless there's any additional questions, that includes our event today. Thank you so much all for coming, and I really hope you all go out and please keep in contact with me, and we can give you everything that you need.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.